What's going on, everyone? Welcome on into a live Cleveland Browns report. Plenty to talk about today as Kevin Stefanski announced that he is handing over play calling duties to Ken Dorsey. So we'll unpack all of that. I'll give you my thoughts and analysis on the whole thing. We're going to talk about Jameis Winston, who was announced as the starter for Sunday against the Ravens. And then we have plenty of NFL trade rumors to get to with the November 5th NFL trade deadline creeping up on us. But I do want to get your thoughts right off the bat here. Is Kevin Stefanski on the hot seat? Whenever we see head coaches who are offensive-minded people hand over the play calling to someone else, it feels like that is the first stage of the beginning of the end. I mean, I'm trying to go through my head right now when a head coach gave over play calling duties to his OC and came out the other side okay. They're not always fired at the end of the year, but it never feels like that has a graceful ending. So, is Stefanski on the hot seat? Do you feel like this might have been something that Haslam, DePodesta, people high up in the front office told Kevin, something's got to change, and it's not just the quarterback. We want you to hand over play calling duties. Or do you feel like Stefanski just making this a no big deal? I'm going to focus on other stuff. We're going to hand it over to Ken, but don't worry at all here. Nothing to see. I think there is something to see. When your head coach is a two-time coach of the year, and he is known for mostly one thing and one thing only, his play calling, and he gives that responsibility to someone else, this is something you should be looking at. This is not a, just give it a quick glance and keep on moving. What? Like, to me, I think this is a bad Colin Cowherd analogy, but you know how in a kitchen you've got, like, someone on, desserts and someone on fish and meat and things like that. Like, if you've got a chef who is the best at pastries and you take him off pastries, that is worth discussing. Like, you have a play-calling head coach here who is known for his play calling, and he is no longer doing that. We should be asking some hard-hitting questions and some tough questions. So let me know. Give me a yes or give me a no. Is Kevin Stefanski on the hot seat? I've got Josh saying yes. Cool Guy says no. David says yes. Kathy says no. Drunken Honky's in the chat. Good to see you. Saying yes. Joshua Miller, yes, had 2.5 years to get Deshaun Watson right, and for whatever reason, it didn't work out. Josh, I'll add to that and say this. If for some reason or another, Kevin Stefanski ends up being somehow the fall guy for Deshaun Watson not working out, which he's not completely blameless, but I don't think he's the ultimate, person to blame for this entire fiasco, and he gets fired, one, he's going to get a job pretty quickly. Two, it might even be a head coaching job. I think he is that valued across the NFL. We got a $1 super chat coming in from Vasily Havarius. Vasily, thank you so much for supporting the show. Vasily doesn't know this, but this $1 super chat actually gets you in the driver's seat to pick my Halloween costume. So, Reed will throw it on screen, but with Halloween about a week and a half away, what I want to do on today's show to keep things a little bit interesting, since this team is 1-6, whoever sends in the biggest super chat gets to pick my Halloween costume. Now, I'm not going to be extremely, PC and boring and whatnot, but don't do anything that's going to get me fired. Like, I'm not going to put on a Hitler mustache, and just pick something that's somewhat affordable, but also attainable. You know what I mean? So don't get too crazy and wild with it, but definitely have some fun, creative thoughts. So right now, Vasily's $1 super chat is the largest one, which means they are in the driver's seat to pick my Halloween costume. I'll either wear it on Sunday, if depending on what you select, I can get here shipped quick enough, or I'll just wear it next week on the 30th, which is a week from today, the day before Halloween. So that is what we're going to do for a little bit of fun and entertainment on today's live show. Now, I have some other questions I want to ask before we get to a complete breakdown of the Kevin Stefanski news and the NFL trade rumors circulating around the Browns. But as always, shout out your city for me. I want to know where everyone is watching from. We have over 125 people watching with us right now. So let me know where you are tuning in from. Kathy, not a bad idea. Art Modell. I mean, not a good idea, but also I appreciate the creativity. Oh my God, we're hooked. We're cooked. D-Hop went to the Chiefs. Cool Guy, you're a couple hours late. I don't think we're cooked because D-Hop went to the Chiefs. I think we're cooked because the Browns are 1-6. And I'll tell you what the back-breaking moment was. It was losing to the Raiders when you went up 10-0. Because the Raiders are a very bad team. But the Browns are worse. I mean, they lost to them. So that to me was on top of a lot of other things, shit's really, really bad right now. Let's see. Josh, usual spot in Michigan. Max, Lakewood Jail. Wi-Fi good there? Dylan's in Mayfield Heights. Ryan's in New Philadelphia. Sean is in San Diego. I've always wanted to go to Petco Park. And we have Mr. Ware in Cleveland and Paul Anderson tuning in from Wilmington, Ohio. Michael with a $5 super chat. Appreciate you, Mike. They don't give out Coach of the Year awards like candy. He earned it both years. I say we keep him. I don't disagree with this, Michael. I will say Jason Garrett won Coach of the Year and Matt Nagy won Coach of the Year. Both coaches that fizzled out very quickly after winning Coach of the Year. And I think it just goes to show that in the NFL, it's so much about the roster than the coach. Whereas in college football, it's a little bit more, not a little bit more, but it swings more towards the coach than the players than it does in the National Football League. Michael, I do appreciate your super chat, though. Go Brownies. Shaylin Spindo with a $2 super chat. Night costume. Shaylin's exposing me right now. I went to a friend's birthday party last month at Medieval Times, and we all bought night costumes. And I came home, and I didn't know what to do with mine any longer because I purchased it for one night only. And I didn't really want to just put it in a drawer since we kind of live in a, small one-bedroom, 2 people in there, a little tight quarters. So I threw my night costume away, which I didn't like doing. But I was like, what am I going to do with this thing? I'm never going to wear this again. So I put it in a suitcase because I was like, those are empty, and they just take up a lot of space. And then when I had to go use that suitcase, I was like, oh, crap, the night costume's in here. So it went in the trash. Shaylin, thank you so much for your super chat, though. We have a few more coming in. Drunken Honky with a $50 super chat. Great to see and hear your insight on these dark days for the Browns. Thank you. Drunken Honky, first off, thank you for this very generous donation to the channel. And right now you are definitely in the driver's seat for my Halloween costume. So start getting those creative wheels turning. But honestly, though, I really appreciate your kind words. I love what I do. I get to wake up every single morning and just take my morning reflection time on my drive or walk into work thinking about what new shit are we walking into today. And today it was Kevin Stefanski is no longer the play caller. Tomorrow it's going to be someone's trade probably.
Well, and early in the morning, DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs.
Yeah, I woke up early.
All right.
I woke up early to go vote. I wear a different shirt, but don't worry, I got the sticker. Jerry Seinfeld, Kramer wouldn't wear the pin. And I got up early and saw D-Hop to the Chiefs. Can we stop making deals with the Chiefs? Can we stop as a NFL community helping them get better? I just think the rest of the league should boycott the Chiefs. They are too good as it is. Why would you assist them? And best case scenario, you get a 4th-round pick out of it. Drunken Honky, though, go Brownies. Vasily with another $2 super chat. Do you think Kevin Stefanski made the decision on his own? I really hope that Stefanski, if he ends up going down with the 2024 Brown ship, writes a book and outlines everything that goes on above him and behind the scenes, because he always says that he makes all the decisions, right? He said when it comes to the football team, I'm the one that makes the decisions when asked about whether or not ownership has a say in benching Deshaun Watson. He said he made this decision completely on his own. I don't know who to believe. It seems like it is just stinking with Jimmy Haslam meddling a little bit too much. And I know Haslam is the boogeyman. And ultimately, when you're so bad for so long and you've had so many different people in those jobs and there's only one common denominator, the owner, all roads lead back to them. And I'm not trying to be a Haslam big defender, but the only really good thing he does, he spends money. And I appreciate that because there is nothing worse in sports than having an owner who will not spend money. So at least he's willing to spend money. Vasily, appreciate your super chat. And he doesn't make his players work out like zoo animals with people taking tours of the facility like Jerry Jones does for the Cowboys. Okay, So, Vasily Drunken Honky with a $50 super chat right now in the driver's seat to pick my Halloween costume. Reed, let's talk all about Kevin Stefanski's play calling, duties being handed off. I don't know why I just jumped the gun in my head, but now I'm afraid that because I planted that seed in my head, it's going to happen now. And then the latest NFL trade rumors, and we have a mailbag at the end. So, hashtag Browns or super chat, and we guarantee your super chat gets on screen for everyone watching to see. About 150 people tuned in right now. We're at 35 likes. Hit that thumbs up button if you have not already. Help us get to 50 likes, and then I'll give you all my thoughts on the Kevin Stefanski play calling handoff to Ken Dorsey.
I wonder what Drunken Honky's going to come up with.
Yeah, I could see the whole chat right now just planting a bunch of wild ideas. You know what I mean? Just some armchair Halloween costume quarterbacks in the chat right now. Because I see Josh just tossing out an idea of a Steelers jersey. So this is going to get the ball rolling. Josh voted early as well. Took me about 30 minutes, I would say, from start to finish. So make sure to vote. But yeah, not too bad of a process. Okay, are we ready to jump into the Kevin Stefanski news of the day and whether or not this places him on the hot seat? Hot soup coming through. You ready? All right, we're at 44 likes, so I don't know if we're all ready. Hit that thumbs up button. We're 6 likes away from 50. Yep. No, thank you. Cool guy, Petey. Who do I start in fantasy? George Pickens or Darnell Mooney or Brian Thomas or Mooney? Mooney's in there twice. I'm replacing one of them for a flex spot. Mooney plays the Bucks. The Falcons carved up the Bucks in overtime the last time they met up a few weeks ago. I don't know who the Jags have. Pickens has the Steelers, right, on Monday Night Football. I'm sorry, Pickens has the Giants on Monday Night Football. I like Darnell Mooney just because the last time they played, he put up big numbers. So why not bounce back from their loss with another dominant performance? Okay, let's get into a live Cleveland Browns report. So the big news of the day in Cleveland is Kevin Stefanski, for the first time in his head coaching career, is handing over the play calling duties to someone else, offensive coordinator Ken Dorsey. So let's break all this down, and I'll give you my thoughts and analysis on the whole thing. My initial reaction when I saw this was, your last in total offense. I can't say I'm completely shocked. Stefanski has been asked this question in the past before, so it's not the first time that someone has proposed the idea of maybe he hands that off to someone else so he can focus on the game a little bit, because the Browns are dead last first, however you want to look at it, in penalties, and so many of those penalties come from the offense and pre-snap, so a little bit of a lack of focus, and maybe having a head coach who isn't focusing on getting the play call in, but can focus on making sure the execution is right and everyone is where they need to be, can improve this offense as a whole. But when you are dead last in total yards and the head coach hands off play calling duties, I don't think we should say we're blindsided by it. Did I wake up this morning thinking today's the day this is going to happen? No, I did not, because Stefanski has been a little bit stubborn about giving this up. But here we are, you're 1-6. I'm not surprised that other changes have been made. But I also say that giving up the play calling duties is somewhat the first step in the path of a head coach getting on the hot seat, right? They are either doing some self-scouting of, hey, this ship is going down. We are 1-6, and I am going to try and do everything to turn the offense around to save my job a little bit. Or you can look at it as the ship is going down, and I'm going to go down with it, meaning I'm not going to put my fate in Ken Dorsey's play calling. I'm going to bet on myself. It just depends on what kind of person Stefanski is. Is he someone who is intelligent enough to kind of look inwards and realize, yeah, I'm not doing a really good enough job pressing buttons and being the play caller, so let's hand it off to someone else, because clearly with the rate we're going, we're going to have one win this year, and I'm probably not going to have a job next year. So would rather shake it up and swallow my pride a little bit, because calling plays has to be the coolest job in the world. Like, that's what we all want to do. That's the dream right there, is be an owner first off, and then be an offensive coordinator so you can be a play caller. But the Browns' offense this year, I mean, look at it. It is obviously one of the worst in the NFL. It is dead last in total yards. It's 29th in scoring, and I don't know how you can find the number of scoring by just the offense, because I don't think that Rodney McLeod's 2 touchdowns should count towards the Browns scoring offense, but every single metric out there just takes all the points. It doesn't filter out defensive scores or special team scores, but you remove those 14 points right there, and the Browns probably average about 13 points a game, and that is very close to dead last. My big question, though, is why not give Stefanski an opportunity, whether it's a decision made above him or Stefanski himself making this decision, to kind of mix and gel with Jameis Winston a little bit, right? Kind of treat this like a middle school science experiment, okay? Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson, from a numbers perspective, in terms of points and yards, were not a very good fit. The Browns did not score as many points when those two were in tandem together compared to when it was Stefanski with Baker or Stefanski with Joe Flacco. So this year, why not continue having Kevin Stefanski call plays for a little bit with Jameis Winston? And we can all go back to 7th grade a little bit and do an independent study and realize, okay, so we changed one variable, Deshaun Watson, we changed the quarterback, and the offense dramatically improved. So now we know all the issues were with Deshaun Watson. But when you take out the play calling from Stefanski, if things aren't going well, well, we're somewhat left in limbo a little bit of, was it Watson or was it Stefanski's play calling? Like, I don't understand why you wouldn't just give Stefanski a few weeks with Jameis Winston to kind of learn whether or not Stefanski's just not a very good play caller or Deshaun Watson, Stefanski are not a good mix together. Now, I was going to, in my original script, say this was a clear Hail Mary effort by Kevin Stefanski, and then I literally stumbled across this tweet from Tony Grossi who says, I asked Kevin Stefanski if it's a Hail Mary thrown up to hand over play calling to Ken Dorsey. He chuckled and said, no. Blasphemous. No. That's blasphemous. No. Kevin, you're 1-6. Yes, it is. How else could you look at this? What, you think you're just like switching it up for shits and giggles? No. This is a season that is going straight to the ground. Going downhill every single week. I don't know how, but somehow it's actually gotten worse. It feels like every single week since their week 2 win against the Jags. When you are 1-6 and you have an owner who has shown they love firing coaches. Yeah, I would say when you are a 2-time coach of the year that is known for their play calling and you hand that job over to someone else, that's as close as it gets to a Hail Mary. Trying to save your job, knowing, well, the boss above me loves to fire coaches. We are 1-6, and even though I am a very good play caller, I am going to hand it over to someone else. That is textbook Hail Mary, trying to save your job and this offense. Now, overarching and final thoughts on this thing is, as you guys answer the question on screen, is Kevin Stefanski on the hot seat? I do think there are some underlying pros that could come out of this. I know Stefanski's play calling was not everyone's cup of tea, and some people liked it, some people didn't, whatever. Some people think it's a great move, some people not so much. I think the underlying thoughts here is that Kevin Stefanski will now have more time to focus on the offense as they break the huddle and the entire 40 seconds leading up to, or from the last play to the snap of the next play, because he spent half of that getting the play call into the quarterback. And the Browns have been dead last in penalties. They continue to have dumb little mistakes like pre-snap penalties and illegal shifts, illegal motions. So hopefully this allows Stefanski to free up some time in game to fixate more on that and not spending half of each play getting the play call into the quarterback. Plus, the way the Browns operate, they are such an analytically driven team. They're somewhat like a baseball manager where so much of the decisions the Browns make on Sunday are made Monday through Saturday. And so I don't want to say he's like a system coach, but so much of what they want to do on Sunday was determined throughout the week, and they're scouting and numbers and analytics saying, run this, do this, because that's what the opponent's bad at, that's what the opponent's good at. It's not like Stefanski as a play caller is out there just firing from the hip on, well, I got a gut feeling that a run's going to work really well right now. No, they are completely driven by numbers. So if that's the case, I won't say anyone can be a play caller, but in this type of situation, the Browns run based on a playbook of, oh, we are in this down and distance from this spot on the field, and based on the opposing defense's ranking against the run or pass, well, our calculator will spit out run this. So I don't think it's going to be dramatically different in terms of what the play calling looks like under Ken Dorsey. Up next on the show, some Jameis Winston news as he was announced as the starter for the Browns in Week 8 against the Ravens, and some injury news as well. Some good, some not so good. We'll get to all that in just a moment. But first, a quick shout out to our sponsor today, Mando. Mando is a whole body deodorant that is safe to use anywhere on your body. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO is being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Mando whole body deodorant is powerful enough for the toughest body odor, but gentle enough to use anywhere, allowing you to put your Mando on family jewels without any worry, because Mando is aluminum free, baking soda free, cruelty free, dye free, and vegan. I love having Mando at my desk, so when I walk to work, I've got it waiting for me to kick any bad odor I worked up during my walk out the door. Mando Starter Pack is perfect for new customers, and they're giving you guys $5 off when you go to shopmando.com with promo code CHAT. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Luckily, I have a discount code to help you guys get hooked up on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. So Jameis Winston, as I'm sure everyone has seen by now, has been announced as the starter this Sunday against the Ravens. Dorian Thompson-Robinson suffered a finger injury in Week 7. It does not require surgery, so the hope is he won't miss too much time, but there's no guarantee that the starting job is even waiting for him when he gets healthy if Jameis plays well while filling in for Deshaun Watson. This is what everyone's been asking for, right? Everyone has wanted to see Jameis for a long time, and so here we are. No clue what to expect. For starters, we really haven't seen much of Jameis in the NFL. I mean, he's making his first start since 2022. He's making his 11th start since he left the Buccaneers and went over to New Orleans at the start of 2020. All I ask for Jameis is to be himself. This season's going nowhere. Let's be honest. Be entertaining. If we're going to get Jameis, let's get all of Jameis, right? If we're going to get 33 touchdowns, I want 30 interceptions. I'm not rooting for picks, but I am rooting for Jameis to just go out there and at least start slinging the rock around the place. And there's going to be some good plays. There's going to be some big-time Jameis plays. And that's the price of doing business with Jameis as your quarterback. But all I ask is entertain us. I mean, at the core of sports, that is what it is, entertainment, right? And we have not been entertained. This has been a bad product so far. So please, Jameis, just be you. Now, what to expect with Ken Dorsey as the play caller for Jameis Winston, I have no idea. I mean, just think about Dorsey and his background for a moment, right? With the Carolina Panthers, Cam Newton, good rushing quarterback, but of course a good arm. Goes up to Buffalo, Josh Allen, somewhat similar and a good runner and a good passer, of course. Then comes to Cleveland, somewhat similar-ish with Deshaun Watson, a good runner, good passer. Jameis is not a runner. Like who remembers the time when Jameis Winston on 4th down ran like 8 yards beyond the line of scrimmage and then threw a pass on 4th down to end the game? So I have no idea when it comes to X's and O's what to expect with these two guys combining with forces, but at least be entertaining. I want to see Dorsey throw his headset if he's up in the booth, and I want Jameis to throw for 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. That's probably what's going to happen. Let's be honest. So what % chance do you give the Browns to beat the Ravens? At home, new play caller, new quarterback. Kind of feels like a brand new team in some ways. I'll put it at I'm going to give it a 30% chance. The reason being is I'm a big believer in the backup quarterback and the interim head coach bump. Whenever you get an interim head coach or a backup quarterback coming in, that first game, they go all out, right? They're like, I'm in charge this week. We've got some momentum. We've got some confidence. We've got some mojo. We've got someone else in charge right now. Then very quickly, it just goes back to where it was before. But that first game, Andy Dalton and the Panthers went to Carolina. Jeff Saturday, when he was interim for the Colts, they beat the Raiders. Andy Dalton and the Panthers went to Las Vegas and beat the Raiders. Maybe you just got to play the Raiders now that I think about it with an interim head coach or a backup QB. Fuck. We should have done this weeks ago. Could have had 2 wins right now. All right, some injury news. Wyatt Teller is returning to practice. He has been in IR for the last 4 weeks with a knee injury. That's obviously encouraging to see him come back on the field, but also love to see him get healthy because I think he could be dangled as a trade candidate for teams looking to beef up their offensive line. 2 teams that come to mind, the Houston Texans and the Chicago Bears. Nyheim Hines, he's still out for the season. He was coming back from that torn ACL he suffered last July in a boating accident. Remember, he was on the NFL list for all training camp, and then Nyheim Hines was activated off the list to open up his practice window. Well, that 21-day practice window is open. The Browns are not adding him to the 53-man roster, so he is done for the season. So we will not see Nyheim Hines play a snap for the Browns, and unfortunately, he has now missed 2 straight seasons in the National Football League. Thinking about Nyheim Hines for a second here and some of the Browns' injuries that they have sustained, they have mismanaged a handful of injuries. Nyheim Hines had his practice window open clearly too early, unless something dramatically bad happened while at practice. I think they mismanaged that. Why they had Jack Conklin taken off the PUP list to start the year, and then he would miss the first 4 weeks of the season and just take up a roster spot, no clue. Unless you just wanted him to practice, but I'd probably rather have the roster spot. And then same goes for Jed Wills, who barely made it back in time before. It didn't make sense to have him open up on the taken off the PUP list. But even when he came back, he clearly wasn't really 100%. I think the Browns just felt a sense of urgency with Wills and Conklin to get them off the PUP list to try and just speak it into existence that they could come back sooner rather than later. And then Nyheim Hines was just a complete fumble on the Browns' part. Some guys that are not practicing, by the way, for Wednesday, the first week of practice or day of practice this week. Jerome Ford still dealing with a hamstring injury. Ronnie Hickman, ankle. He's missed the last couple of games. Ford has missed the last week. Jordan Hicks, who just came back from an injury, he did not practice, elbow injury. That's what kept him out for a little stretch before week 7. Ethan Posick just continuing to battle with his knee injury. And then Jed Wills also continuing to battle with a knee injury. Before we sign off and let you guys get on out of here, shout out your city for me. We have picked up a bunch of subscribers over the last couple of weeks, and I always love to know where people are tuning in from because it's just such a good reminder that this fan base is so international, so nationwide. So shout out your city for me down below in the chat while I give some shout outs here to the Brown and Orange Club. Tim Green, Mike Dibble, Jeremy Stallman, Slow But Sure, David Botner, Jared Brandt, James Harper, Papa T, Joseph Deporte, Mike, Ray Bidding, Dr. No, Eli Green, John Porter, Scorpion, Max T, Jacob Bate, Drunken Honky, and Pistol Slothly. Thank you guys so much for supporting the channel. If you want to get added to the club, hang out with us during our watch parties on Sundays, and we'll add you to the club with a $50 super chat. Some supers rolling in. Let's go. Appreciate everyone for tuning in today, by the way. We moved up our live a little bit earlier because Stefanski giving up play calling duties was just a big enough story where I did not want to wait until 5 p.m. Eastern. Max Nikolenko, what's going on, Max? $10 super chat. I am so fed up with the Browns' dysfunction that I feel like I must donate my money to my favorite Browns show. Max, I appreciate it, and I'm on the same team of you of organizational dysfunction is the worst because it feels like it's something that not even a superstar player can overcome. I saw an article about the Jets, like an article or a tweet, something like that, and it talked about how The Jets, who have not been to the playoffs since 2009, longest playoff drought in the NFL, have had a lot of different quarterbacks. All of them have failed. A lot of different head coaches. Pretty much all of them, I guess except for Rex Ryan, have failed. But there's been one constant since 2000, and that is owner Woody Johnson. So when you have one guy who's been there the whole time and everything else has changed and everything else keeps failing, there's probably something rotten at the top. And I really fear that's what's going on here right now in Cleveland. John Porter. Hi, Petey. Hi, John. Appreciate you tuning in, buddy. Go Brownies. Never going to give up hope. Never going to give up faith. There we go. Go Brownies, John. Go Brownies, dude. John Porter. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Woof, woof. Here we go, Brownies. Here we go. Woof, woof. John, thank you so much. Go Brownies indeed, my man. I guess I didn't check Twitter. Did you get my address for the jersey? Yes. John, the way it works for the jersey, though, is we just mail it to our office first, because in the past we've mailed the jersey right to viewers like yourself. And then some people, I don't know if they're truthful or not, go, hey, this is the wrong size. I want another jersey. So it kind of got to the point where I don't know if we were getting taken advantage of, or they were just wrong sizes or wrong colors, wrong names, wrong players, whatever. So now it's just easier to send it to Chat Sports here, and then I look at the jersey and go yep, right player, right size, right color, and then I send it to you. John, appreciate your super chat, though. Are we all caught up on soupies? John, what's going on, my guy, though? At the end of the day, Brownies, baby. Yeah, for anyone that just tuned in, by the way, whoever sends in the biggest super chat gets to pick my Halloween costume. Right now, it is Drunken Honky at $50. So anyone goes above 50, they are in the driver's seat to pick my Halloween costume. Don't pick anything that's going to get me fired, and nothing that's crazy expensive, so that I can get it before either Sunday, and I'll wear it during the watch party, or if I can't get it by Sunday, I'll just wear it this time next week, the day before Halloween. Okay. Drunken Honky, you get a costume based on a moderator. Like a presidential debate moderator or like a YouTube moderator? My Tie Man the Buckeye for Halloween? I don't know what Tie Man even looks like. I don't know what 99% of you guys look like. Okay. Are we... John Porter. I sent letters. Well, now I'm getting concerned. I'll send another one tonight, John. 1 second. Just technical difficulties. That's okay. I'm still waiting for my letter. Like letter from last year, or did I owe you a letter from this year? You gotta refresh my memory, John, because clearly I'm forgetting something. But I'll just send another letter regardless. As John, longtime viewer, appreciate you. Okay, next up on the show, we are going to run through some of the latest trade rumors. So the Browns, obviously, at 1-6, are hopefully going to be sellers. And we'll talk about who could be going out and what the Browns could be getting in return. So that's what's coming up next. And then after that, mailbag. So get your questions in right now. Hashtag Browns or Super Chat. If you Super Chat, we guarantee your question gets on screen. If you go the hashtag Browns route, not an issue at all. Just Reed picks his favorite questions. No guarantee that he picks yours. Petey be a Browns unicorn. Not a bad idea. Workshop that. We could workshop that. By the way,
Browns unicorn. That's just Nick Chubb.
I'm going to make a law. If I was president, if I was on the ballot for November 5th, anyone that misspells Miles and Myles Garrett and asks for him to get traded, they lose all football viewing privileges. I'm going to have an aneurysm if I see one more tweet or YouTube reply that says trade Myles Garrett and they can't even spell Miles correctly. You can't trade someone that you can't spell their name of. That's the rule.
Their punishment is the only football they can watch is the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah. They have to watch 2017 Browns on repeat. That's the rule. Be a blind referee. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. Drunken Honky, just start getting the ideas flowing. And right now it's yours to pick. Okay, let's talk. Tie Man the Buckeye in the driver's seat. Okay. Let's let's get into some of the NFL trade rumors out there, because this trade deadline seems way more active than previous trade deadlines. I mean, we're still 2 weeks away, 13 days away, and there is a lot of movement already. Years past, not nearly this much movement so far away from the deadline. We've had 4 or 5 trades go down in the last 10 days or so, including DeAndre Hopkins this morning. So keep an eye on it. Amari Cooper to the Bills. How about Ernest Jones? You might not recognize him. He's a linebacker, a pretty good linebacker, who started the year off with the Rams. Then before the season started, he got traded to the Titans. And then today he got traded to the Seahawks. So in the span of like 3 months, he has lived in 3 different cities and collected paychecks from 3 different teams. All right, here we go. Let's jump into the latest Browns trade rumors out there, as Cleveland is definitely going to be active at the NFL trade deadline, and Andrew Berry likes to be buyers, but this time he will hopefully be sellers. All right, we're at 66 likes. If you're just filing on in, hit that thumbs up button if you have not already. Reed, we're ready to rock and roll? Okay, let's get into it. We're going to talk about the latest NFL trade rumors surrounding the Brownies, but we are trailing the Ravens rundown in subscribers. Obviously, the Browns play them this Sunday, but I don't want to lose to the Ravens in our October. Let me start all over. We're going to talk about the latest NFL trade rumors on today's episode, but really quickly, we are trailing, and by a lot, by the way, to the Ravens rundown in subscribers here at Chat Sports. I don't want to lose to the Ravens on Sunday. I don't want to lose to them in subscribers for the month of October. So if you hate the Crows and you can't stand the Ravens, hit that sub button down below. There are a lot of trade rumors out there as we are approaching the NFL trade deadline. This year especially, it feels like the league is a lot more active in making trades than in years past, this far out from the trade deadline. And to me, when we're talking about Browns trade candidates, the first name that comes to mind after Amari Cooper, who has already been shipped off, is Zadarius Smith. And Adam Schefter listed Zadarius Smith as one of his 10 trade candidates to watch for, along with like half of the Panthers roster. And we've already seen DeAndre Hopkins go. Mike Williams might be next, with Devontae Adams coming to New York. But when it comes to Zadarius Smith, I'll say it. It would be malpractice to not trade Zadarius Smith. I like Zadarius Smith as a person, as a player. He has been a fun breath of fresh air since he came to Cleveland. He has really embraced this team and city. He has been fun to watch on Sundays. I miss his celebrations last year, or him kind of faking an injury at the end of each game just to kind of get the crowd riled up a little bit. But at the end of the day, we are talking about a 30-plus-year-old defensive end at a spot that sells like hotcakes at the NFL trade deadline. It would be a near fireable offense if Andrew Berry at 1-6 or 1-7 says, you know what? I'm not letting go of this 31, 32-year-old pass rusher. Are you kidding me? Zadarius, I hope you have a bag packed already. And I'm not trying to get Zadarius Smith out because I don't like him. I'm just trying to get more draft picks for the future, because that is the destination for the Browns, the future. The present is over. They're not going anywhere this year. So try and get as many picks as possible. I mean, right now the Browns have their first, their second. They have 2 thirds. I don't think you're going to get a third round for Zadarius Smith, but I just hope the Browns hold on to him right up until the NFL trade deadline, giving him 2 more games to add to his stats a little bit, pick up a sack or 2, and all of a sudden the Browns have one of the shiniest toys on November 5th, Tuesday, 4 p.m. Eastern's NFL trade deadline, and they go, hey, what contending team wants a pass rusher who has 6 sacks halfway through the year, putting them on pace for 12 altogether? There are going to be a lot of teams lining up at the door. So the risk you run by holding on to him is could get injured, and then you're getting absolutely nothing for him. But he has been, for his career, essentially healthy the entire time except for one season where he missed pretty much the entire year. But my plan, and I hope the Browns' plan, is hold on to Zadarius, let him add to his stats, drive up his value, and then on Tuesday, you've got maybe the best pass rusher available for a trade, and any team that just lost a pass rusher or wants to add depth to it will overpay a little bit because you've got the prettiest girl at the ball. There are 2 kickers, though, to this entire plan. First kicker, it's not a very good NFL draft class coming up. I've seen a lot of scouts say that there are not many first-round grades. Now, you're not going to get a first-round pick for Zadarius Smith, but if there's not many first-round grades out there, it just more or less speaks to the entire talent pool of this upcoming NFL draft class. So this might not be the best year to have a boatload of picks, but you got to try at least, because holding on to a 32-year-old pass rusher is not going to make you any better next year. That's the first kicker. The second kicker is, let's say it is a good draft class and you do get a boatload of picks. Well, now you're putting all your trust in Andrew Berry, who has not been a very good drafter. I mean, he has had some good picks. Most of them came early in the draft where you're expected to make good picks, right? That's not too challenging. But look really beyond rounds 1 and 2. And his round 1 picks, Jed Wills, Greg Newsome, solid. Not going to fight it too much. It was in the 20s. JOK, great pick. I like the Grant Delpit pick. I like the Martin Emerson pick. I know he's not very good this year, but I still like the pick. Outside of that, we're looking at nearly 4 years now, and he has 1 draftee starting on offense. Andrew Berry has not been a very good drafter. Drafting is tough. Don't get me wrong. There's no GM out there that has a perfect draft history. They all have misses. They all have bad picks. They all have great picks. But some have a slightly higher hit rate than others. Andrew Berry's hit rate is just not where I would hope it to be for a GM that is now in a role where a rebuild has to get done through the draft. Andrew Berry has always approached his problems via trade. We need a wide receiver, we're going to trade for one. Oh, our kicker stinks, we're going to trade for one. He has never really started to turn things around in the draft. He's been okay with trading draft picks away. He likes proven commodities more than the unknown. Fortunately, the Browns need to go into the unknown because that's the cheapest and sure, a risky way, but if it pays off, it's a lottery ticket and you could go from worst to first. Go ask a team like the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud comes in, instantly changes it around. So who do you think is the next player to get traded? I think Zadarius Smith will stay a little bit longer, like I said, to drive up his trade value. I could see Shelby Harris getting dealt or Wyatt Teller on the sooner than rather than later side, because I don't think their value is going to dramatically change over the next few weeks. They are what they are right now, so those are 2 guys that come to mind for myself. Another player could be Greg Newsome, former first-round pick out of Northwestern, and an ESPN article that did an entire 2024 NFL trade deadline preview for all 32 teams included Greg Newsome as a trade target for the Arizona Cardinals. Now, any team trying to acquire Newsome would also be acquiring his entire $13.3 million fully guaranteed contract for next season. So it's a decent contract a team would be absorbing. But this year, Newsome has not been good. He hasn't been like one of the worst corners in football. Martin Emerson has sadly been worse, but he still has not been very impressive. And if a team out there feels like maybe just a change of scenery for the former first rounder is all he needs, and they can get what they believe is first round talent for a 3rd or 4th round draft pick, then it could be a kind of a win-win for both sides. I would only trade Greg Newsome away if you could get a day 2 draft pick. Like, I'm not rushing to get Newsome out the door to the point where I would take what he's less than what he's worth. If the Browns think he is worth a 3rd round draft pick, they should not settle for a 5th or a 4th. Like, I would just hold on to him and keep what I do believe is still a good player at a really important position in the modern day NFL, cornerback. But if a team gives you an offer you can't refuse, or more than fair, or even just fair, a 3rd round pick, at 1 and 6, you got to explore all options. So only if the Browns can get a day 2 draft pick for Newsome do I think they should trade him. We're going to look at another trade target / candidate in just a moment, but a quick PSA. Over at Fanatics, they have this awesome sale going on where you can get this Browns t-shirt and hat combo 25% off when you use our link chatsports.com/CLE combo. So if you want to maybe gift yourself this awesome combination of Browns t-shirt and hats, or if you want to gift it to someone else with Christmas around the corner, go to chatsports.com/CLE combo. Now, the same ESPN article also mentioned a trade target for the Browns, and that's Olu, the backup center, the third-string center, I guess you could say, for the Seattle Seahawks. Former fifth-round pick has been inactive for 4 games so far this season. He has not played a single offensive snap, so he is clearly just not a part of the Seahawks plan. And if the Browns think, you know what, we can get someone who maybe we internally think is a good player based on our scouting, because every team has scouts in regional areas, and they all get together. They all have these big meetings. You kind of see it every time, every so often in Hard Knocks, and they feel like they can get him for next to nothing, and he could be a potential starter for them in the future. It wouldn't be the first time the Browns have brought in a former Seahawks center to be their new starting center. But I saw ESPN and the Browns beat reporter offer up this idea. I'm passing on it for a few reasons. Reason number one, it's probably not going to cost you anything more than a future 7th rounder, and that's really not going to make or break anything. But I just don't think the time is right for them to be buying players. Also, I do not trust Andy Dickerson to develop this guy who clearly needs to develop. It's not like the Seahawks have some all-pro center above Olu, and that's why he can't make his way onto the field. The Seahawks offensive line has been just decimated with injuries, and they continue to look past this player for probably a good reason. But the Browns offensive line coach, Andy Dickerson, is not a person betting on to bring this guy in and coach him up. Like we see other teams, like Bill Belichick was famous for that, right? Oh, they're passing on him. No, he's a good player. He just needs good coaching. Mike Tomlin, the Steelers, love to do that with players. If Bill Callahan was here, okay, I can believe Bill Callahan can make any guy starting worthy in the NFL. Andy Dickerson, with the way this offensive line is played this year, hell no. All right, that will do it for us on today's episode. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe, leave a comment, hit that thumbs up button. Would really appreciate it, and I'll catch up with all of you guys later. Mailbag coming up next. Super chat or hashtag Browns. Josh, I like this question. I'll save these questions for the mailbag. Drunken Honky is still toying with the Halloween costume. What's the latest idea? Wearing a flat tire and an AFC tire pump would be awesome, as it doesn't inflate anything. We are really getting into our bag here of 1 in a million Halloween costume ideas. Dallas and Cool Guy and Josh all getting questions in. If you have a question, don't be afraid to ask it in the live chat. Just use hashtag Browns or Super Chat. If you Super Chat, we guarantee you get on screen for everyone watching to see. And speaking of Super Chatting, if you are just tuning in right now, whoever sends in the largest Super Chat today gets to pick my Halloween costume. Right now, it's Drunken Honky at $50, but if you are craving or itching to get me into some weird fetish costume you have, well, you know what? There's a lot of weird people out there, Reed. There's a lot of weirdos in the world. Reed's definitely going to Super Chat $100 right now under his burner. And he's like, I'm fucking fed up with Petey. This has been a long time coming. Super Chat and our biggest Super Chat gets to pick the Halloween costume. Okay, mailbag coming up next here. So, hashtag Browns or Super Chat. Reed, let me know when you're ready. I've got like major dry mouth syndrome right now. Whatever you do, do not put AFX Apocalypse's question in. No! AFX, you're killing me. AFX knew. I was just starting to say, do not put AFX Apocalypse's question in there. And then he super chatted to guarantee it gets in there. We're not starting with it. We will get the question in there. I am not leading off the mailbag. You know, on YouTube, there's a lot of analytics, a lot of really cool stuff you can look at. One of them is you can see the percentage of people that are still watching your video at every single second in the video. If I lead off with go get Stetson Bennett, that graph is going to go straight down. Okay. Reed's got a question. Get those questions in. That's what I'm saying. Well, yeah. Stetson Bennett. I hate Stetson Bennett. You know what I might hate? I might hate Carson Beck more. Carson Beck sucks, guys. I take such pride in that too. If Georgia could just get a quarterback, I'd actually be really afraid of them. All right, I'm ready. Let's get into it. Welcome on into a Cleveland Browns mailbag. I'm answering questions that were asked during our live show, which airs on Wednesdays, usually at 5 p.m. Eastern, but when Kevin Stefanski hands over the play calling, we moved our show up a little bit earlier. So, with that being said, let's get into our first question coming in from a longtime viewer, Kathy. Is there any way to get out of the Deshaun Watson contract? Yes, you could release him, make it a post-June 1 designation release. You are still going to get hit with a huge dead cap hit. I don't think they're going to release Deshaun Watson after this year. I think they may even feel like Watson's going to be their starter when he returns healthy, unless the NFL draft gives them a quarterback they can't pass on, and that quarterback lights it up in the offseason workouts and whatnot. I did see, Kathy, a very wild idea, though. It's not going to happen, but it was basically like the Brock Osweiler trade times 10, where the Browns trade Deshaun Watson to the Patriots and also give New England a bunch of draft picks just to get Watson's contract off of their books. The Browns are still going to be left with a lot of dead money, so it's not that simple, but it was kind of funny to go back in time to the Brock Osweiler trade and go, oh, it can get way worse, Houston. All right, Dallas, next one up. Should we look for a long-term backup QB in next year's draft in day 3? I honestly feel that DTR is not the answer. You can't have a backup QB that only does good in the preseason. I don't disagree, Dallas, that I don't think DTR is really a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. He's never gotten a great shake at it. Like, the times he's come in, once was on Sunday halfway through the game. Another one was with like 4-hour notice before the Ravens last year. And then last year, he did improve as the season went along. I'm all for, though, drafting a quarterback in day 3 for pretty much all 32 teams. You just don't know when you're going to get a Brock Purdy or a Tom Brady. So for that right alone, it's just kind of like with your 6th or 7th round pick buying a lottery ticket. Is that quarterback going to work out? Probably not. Was the defensive tackle you were going to take in that spot going to work out? Probably not either. But if one of them does work out, which position would you rather have it be? Quarterback or defensive tackle? Dylan Sutcliffe, should the Browns tank for a QB in round 1? Tanking is a tough conversation to have because coaches are not interested in tanking. GMs are definitely not interested in tanking because they're not guaranteed to be the ones making the selection. Now, maybe in the Browns' circle of trust, Jimmy Haslam, who has been very supportive of Stefanski and Barry, sits down and just outlines what went wrong this year and divvies up the blame to everyone but those two guys and says, I still believe in you. Let's go get Cam Ward from Miami, and you guys can still have your jobs, and this is kind of a win-win for everyone except for season ticket holders paying a stupid amount to come watch this team go nowhere this year. But Cam Ward is the only quarterback in this draft class that I think is really worth looking into. Like, Quinn Ewers, I don't think is going to enter the draft with the way he has played this year. Carson Beck sucks. I just do not see a world where Dion lets Shador come play for the Browns. He's just not going to let that happen. Like it or not, I don't see that happening at all. So, should the Browns tank for a QB in round 1? The answer is no, because just no player is going to intentionally drop a pass to help out the next team on the next year's Browns when they may not even be on that team. So, it just requires too many people to orchestrate, and it's not going to happen. Vasily, do you think Kevin made the decision on his own to give up play calling? I would love for Kevin Stefanski to write a book when the day comes that he is no longer the Browns coach and share with us what it was like to have most likely a ton of like puppet masters above him. Pinocchio. I'm blanking on the guy who's actually pulling the strings for Pinocchio. But Geppetto. I would love for Kevin Stefanski to write a book about all the Geppettos above him and how often he got to make the decision versus how often Jimmy Haslam maybe kind of breathed down his neck, gave like an uncomfortable little shoulder squeeze from behind and like leans in and whispers. I think Ken's a really good play caller. So do I think Kevin made the decision on his own? I'll say yes, because I can't say for sure otherwise, but would I be surprised? Not in the slightest. Now, before we get to the other questions on today's episode, we have an awesome sponsor I'm excited to share with you guys, and that is Mando. Mando is a whole body deodorant safe to use anywhere on your body. It was created by a doctor who saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. Mando whole body deodorant is powerful enough for the toughest body odor, but gentle enough to use everywhere, allowing you to put Mando on the family jewels without any worry, because Mando is aluminum-free, baking soda-free, cruelty-free, dye-free, and vegan. I love having Mando at my desk, so when I walk to work, I've got it waiting for me to kick any bad odor I worked up during my walk out of the door. Mando is offering new customers $5 off their starter pack at shopmando.com with promo code CHAT. That starter pack, by the way, is perfect for new customers because it comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. Luckily, I've got a discount code to help you guys get hooked up on my favorite smelling whole body deodorant on the market. New customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHAT. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack when you use code CHAT at shopmando.com. That's shopmando.com. I put all that information in the comments and description of today's video. Getting back to some of the questions from our mailbag. Joshua Miller, where will Mike Vrabel end up next year? Josh, do you mind if I twist this question for a second? Could Mike Vrabel replace Kevin Stefanski? Because I don't know if that's what you're thinking or if that's what you need to hear because that's what you weren't originally thinking, but that's what the origin of this question is. I think Mike Vrabel is going to be a head coach next year. I don't know how he did not become a head coach this year. Do I think Mike Vrabel will be the Browns head coach next year? Unless the Browns don't win another game, I still think Kevin Stefanski will be the head coach. Haslam gave Stefanski and Barry contract extensions. Now, that's just money. It does not count towards the cap or anything like that. So if Haslam decides to fire them anyway and just pay their salaries and pay 2 coaches at once because he's a billionaire and he doesn't mind doing that, then by all means he can fire Kevin Stefanski. I think Kevin Stefanski truly has the best job in the world, which is to be a fired head coach where you still get paid and you're not doing anything. But Mike Vrabel in that situation to me seems like an obvious candidate to be one of the first replacement options simply because I do feel like the Browns do need an injection of leadership when it comes to installing the right culture in this locker room. And Mike Vrabel is definitely a culture and tone-setting guy. Michael, what's going on, dude? They don't give out Coach of the Year awards like candy. He earned it both years. I say we keep him. I don't disagree with this thought, but I will just tell you that Jason Garrett and Matt Nagy both won Coach of the Year awards, and were both fired within like 2 years of winning that award. So by no means does winning Coach of the Year give you a very long leash afterwards. I do think it is, I guess strange is the best word to describe, Stefanski giving up play calling duties when that is his number one asset, is a play caller. Like that's what he is best at. If you asked him to rank himself on all of his head coaching duties, he'd probably say his biggest strength is play calling. David Snyder, do we take a QB in the second because we obviously need to go O-line in the first? I feel like taking a quarterback in round 2 sounds okay on paper, never quite works out as well as you hope it does. I mean, the best round 2 quarterbacks over the last 10 years that come to mind, Derek Carr, and then go back a little further and Andy Dalton. And they're not bad NFL quarterbacks, but are those the quarterback ceilings you're striving for? Like, more often than not, the best quarterbacks are going to come out of the top 10 picks of the draft. You do get some outliers. Lamar Jackson, for starters. Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, both barely outside the top 10. But round 2, I feel like at that point, you're just taking a quarterback for the sake of taking a quarterback because it's the highest guy on your big board at that position. If they're not a round 1 guy, I'm not interested. I'd rather go get a proven, or not proven, I'd rather go get the best player available, someone higher up on your big board, even if it's not a quarterback, which you need. Let's not just light a second-round draft pick on fire so that we can say, well, we tried to take a quarterback. Brandon, are there any dark horse trade targets you believe the Browns would send away for the right return? Great question, Brandon. I don't think they're going to trade Myles Garrett. I think David Njoku might have a sliver of a chance of getting dealt if a team were to call and make them an offer they can't refuse. But it's unlikely a team were to do that for a tight end. That's just not a position that gets shopped a whole lot. I don't think Denzel Ward is going anywhere. I don't think Greg Newsome can be considered a dark horse anymore. So that to me doesn't seem like it fits the bill here. I'd go with David Njoku. If a team is really desperate for a good pass-catching tight end and they give the Browns a third-round draft pick, Cleveland might take them up on that offer. Brandon, appreciate your question, though. A few more questions coming in. Producer Reed. Drunken Honky, great to see and hear your insight on these dark days for the Browns. Thank you. Drunken Honky, thank you for supporting the channel. Really appreciate everyone who is sticking with us because obviously, it's no secret that this team is somewhat my livelihood in terms of, if they're successful, usually people are more interested, and that's better for business for myself. So selfishly, I always want the Browns to be good for a business perspective. I don't think that's a big surprise to anyone who knows what it's like to be in the sports coverage sphere, but I do really appreciate those of you that are hanging out with us, sticking with us during these really, really dark times of a 1-6 team. Oh, and then one last question here. AFX Apocalypse. Sorry, AFX. Didn't mean to bury the lead. One man can save us, Stetson Bennett. No, I hate Stetson Bennett. AFX is simply referring to a bet I made with another chat sports host here that Stetson Bennett would not get drafted. And if they could do the draft over again, no shot the Rams take him in round 4. Stetson Bennett stinks. All right, who you got, by the way? Browns, Ravens. We'll end on this right here. Let me know in the comment section below for this Sunday who's going to win. Yep. All right. One last call, we'll say, to beat Drunken Honky and their $50 super chat to pick my Halloween costume. Drunken Honky, I do need a Halloween costume because if it's going to be worn on Sunday, I got to order it tonight. So, Drunken Honky, I'm going to give you a few minutes to come to a conclusion, or if you want to delegate to someone else, you can do that as well. But let me know. Yeah. Hold on. If I send one, can I make you dress up as Stetson Bennett? If you beat Drunken Honky, then yeah, that would be okay.
Gotta be more than $50.
AFX, you'd have to beat Drunken Honky. Did Drunken Honky suggest I go as a ghost? I could do a ghost. Should I do a ghost of Browns coaches past? Just a white sheet with all the Browns coaches' names put on it. Drunken Honky, egg if you can't think of anything else. Give me a second. I'm going to debate on it. Drunken Honky, the mod Time Man is not here. And I got to know today so that I can order it. So, unfortunately, Time Man, we usually do our show an hour later. So, he's probably school, work. I don't know what he's doing, but I need some direction right now. Everyone starts spamming Drunken Honky in the chat. You know what you want, bro. Fun fact, I am not a Halloween fan. My mom's birthday is Halloween. So as a little kid, I remember like being upset that people would celebrate Halloween and not her birthday. So ever since then, I've never really been a big Halloween fan. Do you want to delegate to Cool Guy? He's basically a mod. I mean, he's been in the chat for as long as time. Or Kathy. Those are both good options. AFX is still debating whether or not to send in something bigger than $50 to make me dress up as Stetson Bennett. Okay.
Okay, he gave it to Cool Guy.
All right, Cool Guy. The baton has been passed on to you now. Pick the Halloween costume for me.
He's so happy.
Cool Guy. Pressure's on right now. Unless Drunken Honky comes in and takes it back with an idea. I got to transfer money into my other. Oh.
It's got to be more than $50.
Cool Guy. PD Go is one of the Browns coaches from 2000 to now. Okay. That is definitely workable. We can do that. We can do that. Or, oh, my goodness. What's the goodness for? Is AFX really going to do this? I'm kind of curious. I mean, first off, AFX has only sent in like 5 super chats. Don't do this. I'm curious to see if this one happens. I don't even know how I dress up as Stetson Bennett. He's the mailman, so I'd have to get a mail hat. And then probably like a George or something. A cap hat that says $230 million.
AFX, it has to be like total more than 50. So if you send in a $60 super chat, that works.
It's whatever the largest is.
If you send in a 50 and then a 10 separately, doesn't count.
What's a cap? Drunken Honky, explain this one to me because I'm just not really picturing it based on what you said. A cap hat that says 200. Like, I get the reference you're making to Watson, but what do you mean like a quotation hat? Andrew's saying, I know where you could be. You could be a ghost, but have the sheet of all players from the 0-16 team.
I think he just, Drunken Honky just means, he calls it a cap, but it's a hat. Like, people call caps.
Okay.
Hats, caps. I can put my cap on.
AFX, I do agree that you don't need to send in 100. I do think if you go to your computer, you can type in the manual number. I still think there's a way on your phone.
You can type it on the phone.
I think on your phone you could just go in and click and like change it to the exact number you want.
I'm gonna look on my phone right now.
Yeah, Reed's gonna do a test run here. Reed's gonna drop a $60 super chat without realizing it. All right, sheet with every QB since '99. I like that.
Ooh.
That's a great idea. I think that is the winner right now. AFX, keep your money. We have workshopped a good idea right now.
Yeah.
We have workshopped a good spot here. Keep your money, AFX. Wear a hat that spells the numbers. Also, make sure you are wearing 3 headsets that cover your eyes as well. Drunken Honky, are you drunk right now? What is going on, dude? You are all over the board right now.
He's right.
I think only on your
phone,
computer.
On the phone, it only does 50
yeah,
or 100.
I knew that, but I thought you could still change it. Like you could double click or something, and it gives you a little text box.
Oh, I almost sent it.
All right, AFX, keep your money. Keep your money. Let's do what Josh and Cool Guy have kind of combined, which is we're gonna have like a little ghost sheet, and it's got all the quarterbacks since '99 on it.
Ooh, all the quarterbacks.
Yeah, I like that idea.
You should do the sheet and just the eyes.
Yeah, then I look like something else, and that's weird.
What?
I'll let you think about it. Okay. All right.
So what? You're just gonna have a sheet, but like
I don't know.
It's a poncho.
Okay, no belly shot. All right, we're gonna sign off. We're gonna let you guys enjoy the rest of your Wednesdays. Appreciate everyone for taking time out to hang out with Reed and myself. Go Brownies! We'll see you throughout the week. Plenty of content coming your way, so don't miss a thing. Turn on those notifications so you don't miss a video, and I'll catch you guys later.